I'll just share really quick. I know we're already a little bit past some of the time here. So quick speed run. I think context just kind of helps. So we were originally building a tool just to make it easier for salespeople to get notes into Salesforce. It's kind of serendipitous that we started working with advisors. So our CEO's neighbor, brother-in-law are all advisors. He was just kind of updating them on what we were building, and they said, we need this in our industry way more than somebody else does. And as we did our discovery process, the direct quote they used was, getting notes into Redtail is the bane of my existence. And that sort of morphed into, I'd like a tool that can help me prep for my meetings without digging through old notes. I'd like to be able to be very present in the meeting with my client. I don't want them looking at the top of my head, hoping I hear everything, and also have a compliant note. And then if I have 6, 7, or 8 meetings in a day, unfortunately, my client doesn't even get a follow-up because I have about an hour of admin work on that meeting, both on the pre and post side. And I'd love to get that down to like 5 to 10 minutes. And they had tried hiring junior associates. They tried dictation services. They had tried generic note takers, and none of them really gave them the outputs or the time savings they were looking for. And that's why we pivoted and built Jump. So we're solely built for financial advisors. It's very clean, easy to navigate. Every output is customizable to your particular note-taking style, whether that's very succinct bullet points or long narrative summaries, that's totally up to you. Obviously needs to be secure and compliant, and Cambridge has approved us, so we're good to go there and work with the advisor tech stack. And it's not just sitting in on a meeting, giving you a summary. It's really helping to optimize and fill some of the gaps that an assistant would using AI so that your other folks can work on bigger things. So we're trying to do things like help you prep all the way to follow up. And I won't spend too much time on this, but we did launch at the end of January of this year, and we have over 800 firms on at this point, probably closer to 900. So it's been really good feedback. We feel like we struck a chord. And with that, I will actually dive into the product. So the main integrations we're going to want to focus on today are the CRM. So I'd imagine most of you are on Wealthbox or Redtail today. We can accommodate workflows. The main purpose is to be able to push notes easily to the CRM, assign the tasks, as well as pull some of that data in to help you prep for your meeting. Any of your virtual platforms we will integrate with as well. The goal being that Jump can capture the meeting no matter where it lives. If it's an in-person, if it's a phone call, if it's a Zoom, Teams, etc., we'll be able to capture that and get you your notes and then integrate with the calendar. That way we can go ahead and pull in your meetings very easily, send note takers to anything that's upcoming. So this is what it looks like for an upcoming meeting. If it's on a Teams or a Zoom, the note taker's on, it will automatically attend that meeting. You just have to let it in, let it do its thing. If you want to do an in-person meeting, you just hit record now or use our mobile app, which is what most advisors do. It's a little less clunky to push a phone to the middle of the table. And then we can also capture your phone calls by either VoIP integration or by having Jump join your call as kind of a third-party note taker. And once the meeting takes place, all you have to do is end it. Jump will run that whole transcript through a series of AI automations. It'll take about 2 to 3 minutes. You'll get a notification, and the default note looks like this. So it's essentially taking our entire conversation, and you have full control over how long this is stored. You can have this auto delete on a schedule, but it's essentially taking our entire conversation, boiling it down to a narrative discussion, just kind of what took place start to finish. It'll pull out personal details like their hobbies, their kids, goals, what sports they play, all those sorts of things. What kind of pertinent questions related to finance that you asked the client, how they answered those. And then some of the things like any recommendations you might have made, if services and fees get quoted, and then what the outcomes, next steps, and action items are for the meeting. Another part of our discovery process as we built this was wrangling all the planning data is a huge time suck for us as well. So we will organize that all into a table for you just as it comes up in the flow of conversation, as well as any of these metrics that might affect the recommendation from a suitability aspect. And again, this can be customized. This is what comes out of the box. The goal really here is that this is a 95% draft of what the deliverables are post-meeting that can easily go into the CRM, which is then the permanent record of the meeting. So once you're ready to sync this over, you do some cleanup on it, rich text editing, so you don't have to take it somewhere else to sort of, format it or anything like that. You'd hit review and sync. This would say add note to Wealthbox, Redtail, even if you're using Salesforce, any of those CRM integrations we have. Pick the record you want to map this to. We can also apply any tags that you might have created in your CRM to go ahead and post to the meeting. Hit sync and the notes are over in a couple of seconds. And then that will appear as a hyperlink to go view in your Wealthbox or Redtail. We can also update the contact. So if you have any sort of fields that you find yourself just manually updating every single time you have a conversation, we can pull those in and easily update some of those for you. It will also draft a follow-up email. So out of the box, it's just a pretty solid template showing the discussion, current focus areas, next steps, and to-dos. This will open up a draft in your Outlook instance or your Gmail or your Exchange. And that way it still archives properly. You hit send and send any attachments, revisions you want to make. So quick way to follow up with the client. On the pre-meeting side, it will actually help you prep for the meeting by looking at the calendar. So the flow would essentially be if I was on one of your calendars, it would go find me in the CRM on a schedule and email the advisor a quick summary just to talk about, hey, you're meeting with Pedro here. Here's what his goals are. I want to make sure you guys are seeing this. So let me make sure I'm sharing the right thing. So here's what the client's goals are. Here's what's coming up in their life. Here's what we talked about last time we met with them. A little bit about their household situation, and then any sort of icebreakers to get the conversation started. We've seen really cool examples like ask about the golden retriever they adopted in January, ask how their son's football team did in the fall. All sorts of details right here will be pulled in. And this can also be customized. So we do have people saying, well, go into Redtail and look for some red flags or anything that they haven't done yet that we need them to. So a lot of different use cases there, but the idea is that it helps you prep and get the conversation off on a good personalized note. And then after the meeting, it will assign all the tasks. So essentially, it will create these for you. The workflow is that once you sync these over to your CRM, they then appear as tasks for you to execute in there. So any of these parameters can be changed before syncing, including your entire user list that it can pull up. You can start assigning these to different folks in your system and then sync over. If you're using workflows, you can also accommodate those. So I can switch any of these from a task to a workflow. It will automatically deliver me the template that's closest to the title just based on the description. But you can also pick manually which template you want to use and kick off a workflow that way. So a very quick way to assign the tasks and start the follow-up process. And then that would be sort of the down the fairway use case, I'd call it. There are a few things in here to sort of double click on any aspect of the note. If there's a part of it that you might want to make sure, like, is this accurate, like a salary, or just get a little more context, you can hit explain, and this will take you back to the exact part of the conversation where this was discussed. So it'll give you a timestamp, exact quote, and once that's done loading, you can actually click in there, watch it back from that exact part of the discussion.
I make about 180,000 a year.
Just to make sure it's accurate.
And that's just.
You can also ask questions kind of ChatGPT style, like what did we discuss with his IRA? Also, what are his kids' hobbies? And it will give you those outputs in a couple of seconds, just pulling from the transcript and giving you a little bit more detail.
Matt, can you still pull the transcript after you've deleted it?
Good question. The answer is no. So that is one of the drawbacks of auto deleting the media. Yep. And then the last piece I want to show you as this loads, and I won't wait for it to, I'll just refresh it here, but the analytics, these will pick up some sentiment of the client, how they're feeling throughout the meeting. So whether it's like happy, confused, concerned, etc., with some timestamps, talk time ratio. So you can sort of self-coach on maybe, hey, Parker, looks like you talked a lot here. Let's kind of dig in and see what you were saying.
For us to get started with. So just so you know,
so he's doing his monologue. I think we can maybe coach him to do a little bit of Q&A here just to make sure it's more interactive. You can set up custom keywords that you want to set up and track over time. So some real world examples, you could see like, what are my clients interested in as far as trends? We do have some branch managers tracking the word guarantee in their meetings from their reps, or you can self-coach like I do on some filler words that I use and bring up every conversation I have and see how many times I say, which is brutal, but it's always good to self-coach a little bit. And then you can also pick up if verbal consent was asked for to be recorded and if it was granted. I mean, there's going to be different states that have different laws. It doesn't mean it's a requirement and jump. It's just something for documentation purposes that we can capture kind of for the CYA element of it. And that is sort of the grand tour of where we're at today. Just a little bit of a peek under the hood of where this is going in the next couple of months. So the customization piece today If you wanted to get one of your templates in, you would sort of work with our team because of the prompt engineering behind the scenes. That will be self-serve in the next few weeks. Global Ask Anything is coming out in the next couple of weeks to a month or so. So instead of going into an individual meeting to ask questions, it will sort of live on the home screen on top of all your meetings and eventually on top of the CRM. That way you can understand like how many meetings I mentioned crypto, even up to help generate a prep based on some of my previous meetings in Jump. And it will give you some sources, some information, just to be able to ask questions on a more global scale. And that's sort of it. Got that done in almost a little bit over 10 minutes. So that was a good speed run. But I'm sure there's some questions, so definitely want to make sure those are answered.
Questions, anybody?
Okay, so this platform, we are recording the client's conversations, so we definitely have to advise them that it's being recorded.
Yeah, I mean, we always err on the side of be transparent with the client. There are different states with like one-party consent. So for an in-person meeting, you might not have to say anything. Zoom and Teams, there is a little module that pops up and says the call's being recorded. So it does appear as a participant in the meeting. So not like you're trying to hide anything from the client, but passive consent is captured in virtual meetings because there is that clear and obvious language that the call is being recorded. So by staying in the meeting, they are passively consenting to recording.
It's your favorite question. Can you go over pricing, Matt?
Yeah, we can go over pricing. So let me share out my pricing sheet here. We have a couple of different tiers of pricing for advisors. Cambridge does get a discount, so we'll make sure we cover that as well. So a couple of tiers here for advisors. So the Core and the Plus are both advisor licenses, have all the functionality that I just showed you today. One is kind of based on, a normal amount of meeting volume. The other is based on a little bit more of a intense meeting volume. You can really think of these in annual buckets because we know there's going to be fluctuations, seasonality in terms of meeting volume. But if you're a very heavy user on meetings, Plus might be a better fit for you. And then the light seat is more for like an assistant or paraplanner. So you can imagine if you have an advisor that kind of does their thing, talks to the client, but then does none of the admin work, the assistant could kind of go in to their meeting, assign the tasks, sync over the notes, send the follow-up email on their behalf, and kind of do that post-meeting admin work for them. Those are $25 a month. Our contracts are all annual, but there is a 90-day window to cancel that. So you essentially are kind of month to month for the first 3 months. And then Cambridge has a discount of 10% off of all of these figures on the Core and the Plus. So it's really $90 a month if you pay annually, or $99 a month if you pay it monthly. And then, of course, if we started to talk about a larger kind of enterprise deal for the group, we could talk about further discounts for sure.
Thanks.
Yep.
Yep. Our plan is to gather some feedback from the group, see what they're thinking, and then I'll be reaching back out to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions from the group that's on the call here?
So
All right.
this one here, so on your cell phone, you need two, is it the same where you need two microphones? You can't be recording and be on your cell phone at the same time?
Right. So like if somebody's calling you on your phone, the way that we would cover a phone call, if you have a VoIP integration with RingCentral, Intulse, or Dialpad, it's pretty easy to just record an incoming phone call. If there is no VoIP integration, we have built out functionality to where essentially you could have Jump call you as like a third party with a note taker on the line. So you'd have to put your client on hold for a second and then merge the calls. Other way to do it, and this is kind of like the old school way, by old school I mean a couple months ago, you could always put the client on speaker, hit record, and record from your laptop. That said, I actually do want to add, I think iOS 18 just came out. The rumor is that it does allow for two-party consent to actually recording phone calls. So if you have an iPhone, we might be able to build out a solution pretty quickly to just capture that right away. So a couple workarounds and some more VoIP integrations coming out soon.
Excellent. Any other questions before we let Matt go? All right, well, Matt, we appreciate you giving us some time back here, and great product, great presentation. And like I said, Tracy and I will be in touch. Okay.
All right, appreciate it. Y'all took it easy on me.
Anybody has any feedback or questions, share with us, and I'm sure Matt can get in touch with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, thanks everybody.
Thanks so much. Really appreciate your time.
Bye bye.
Bye.